Cool morning coaxes coat's foot open by the side of the road. Leggy lilac leans o'er the split rail to greet the meadow marigold. Fiery red azaleas flare, twisting wisteria climbs the garden.
Today is the 9th day of 64 days for the season for nonviolence. This is a time frame when we have been brought together to acknowledge two great men who stood on this planet and proposed peace. And I find it interesting and heartbreaking that the dates that we are using for this time frame are the dates that signify the anniversaries of their assassinations. January 30th to April the 4th, we honor and acknowledge Mohandas Gandhi and Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. This season was put in place by family members back in the 90s to bring the world together to look at the concept, the idea of nonviolence. I had the opportunity in 2001, I believe it was, to meet the grandson of Mohandas Gandhi, Arun Gandhi. We had a celebration in Colorado Springs, and I was able to volunteer and be a part of it, and I got to be the MC at the program we offered at UCCS, and he was there, and he spoke to us. And the story he shared was when he was a young boy. In the arena of working with his grandfather and being in the presence of his grandfather, he was doing some schoolwork. So what he described was something that seemed similar to an office type. He was sitting inside a window at a small plain desk, and he was writing out his schoolwork. The device that he was writing with was a pencil that, in my mind, was approximately that long. And he had sharpened it and sharpened it and sharpened it and kept using it and using it and using it. And he was getting more and more frustrated because his hands seemed to be cramping, and he wasn't happy with the fact that he was using this worthless piece of pencil. And so he got this idea, and he tossed it out the window. He just took the pencil and tossed it. And then he went to his grandfather, and he requested a new pencil. And his grandfather asked him where was the pencil he had, and he said it was worthless. It was so small, it was so short, I couldn't hold on to it. I threw it out the window. Well, needless to say, soon Arun was outside the window, in the bushes, in the grasses, looking for the pencil, because it was the only way he was going to be able to complete his schoolwork. Now, let's just pay attention to that story for a second. We are talking about peace and promoting peace. Yes, we are. But we are taking it to another level. When we come to that idea of nonviolence, what we're looking at is removing ourselves from any action, any thoughts, any language that could be construed as violent or abusive or angry. And when we react towards an inanimate object with any of those types of emotions, we are generating not only the opposite of peace, but we are generating violence. It was an amazing talk for me, and I'm so pleased to be at this place and time right here and to bring this idea to you, because my intention is to stand in that space for nonviolence for me and for everyone on this earth. And isn't it the perfect time, again, for us to focus on nonviolence? And if you go to the website for the Season for Nonviolence, you will see all of the affirmations for the 64 days, and it's beautiful and it's easy to follow, and it starts out with us looking at how we treat ourselves, which is significant, and this is a place I've been working for some time. But the thing for me today is to pay attention to my language, the words that I choose, because the slightest word could be a word that ignites violence. And then to pay attention to how we treat our natural resources, our beautiful planet Earth. Are we respectful? When we receive resources, do we utilize them and value them, or do we just toss them away without thinking about it? So my intention from now through April the 4th is to honor this time, to promote this time, and to really pay attention to reeling myself in and aligning myself with this season, promoting nonviolence. And I just have one question for you. Will you join me? Please join me in prayer. Just breathing into this moment here and now, we recognize that there is a power in all life. We call this power God. We know it is perfect. We know it is aligned in all truth. We know that it lives within each and every one of us. And so as we move into this time, let us just breathe that in. Let us just breathe into that expectation that Spirit is here always, always, guiding us, supporting us, and that we are connected to it and in it. And in this space, we are connected one to another. How reassuring that is, how beautiful that is. Oh, and so we just breathe in right here and right now, and we turn our attention to this time, and we let go of everything else, every distraction, every idea, every task, and we just stay here presently, open to the idea and the inspiration that comes forth. I know everyone that hears this message, everyone that is related to everyone that hears this message, and on and on and on, are blessed by God, in God. I know this time is perfect. I know it is good. I let this go and I let it be, and so it is. There is a story in the Hebrew scripture of the Bible. Many of you may have heard it. It's about a man named Noah. Noah was a man described as blameless, righteous. He was a man who walked with God. And the story goes, God called upon Noah and said, "You have got to build an ark," which was a very large boat. And he was given instructions on how to build this ark and what was going to take place. And at some moment in time, Noah was very aware that rains were going to begin and flooding was going to start. And at a point in time when it was complete, he was instructed what animals and how many animals to load onto the boat, along with his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives. And the waters began to come down from the heavens, and the earth began to be covered by water, and the boat was lifted, and for 40 days and nights it rained. And then one day, there was evidence that dry land existed. The waters, the rain from above had stopped, and the waters were kind of dissipating, and Noah had sent out birds to check and bring back anything that they could find that was in the form of a tree or a plant or something, and a dove is what was the significant factor that came back with an olive branch, and they knew that it was time that they could unload the ark. Now I wonder what it was like to be those 8 people and who stepped off of this ark to see a clean washed earth, different than it had been. I also wonder what it was like for them during that time on the ark, because certainly everything that they knew to be familiar had been removed from their lives. It's taken away. And whether they got along with the people of the time or not, there were a lot of people at that time that were no longer, so there had to be some grieving taking place in that time frame. And as they stepped out of that ark, and as they looked at the sky and they saw this beautiful rainbow and they looked around them, they had the opportunity to create a brand new world. They had been gifted a clean slate. Our theme for this month is One Journey, Many Paths. And I want to bring this into the story today because I want us to pay attention to that. There is one journey, all of us, Humankind is existing from whatever point that we come into form to whatever point that we leave earthly form and earthly existence. We are on a journey, but there are so many paths. There are so many ways that we can get to our destination, that we can choose and be and have whatever it is we want. One journey, many paths. I worked with a woman years ago, and I don't know, we were really good friends, my friend Patty Jo. We were very good friends, but I think sometimes we had more things that we kind of argued about or debated with lightly than we really had in common. And what she used to say to me, she was a very devout Irish Catholic. And she used to tell me, we're all going to the same place. You're just getting on a different bus. And I always thought that was such an interesting thing, that we get to live in that space of allowing everyone to walk their own path, to struggle and move through life. And if you think about it in your mind's eye, you can see all of these people on all of these paths. And what's happening in the world today is some of them are stopping. They're fearful to take the next step. Some of them are turning around and trying to go back because they don't want to progress because they are concerned. They don't know what's going to happen. And some are way advanced beyond the rest of us. But we're all heading towards that expectation, that experience of life, however we choose to have it. And so today's talk title is A Clean Slate. And that's what I was just sharing with you about Noah. They came off of that ark and they had a clean slate. They could try to reinvent all of the things that they had left behind, or they could start brand new. They had that choice to look at life that way. So imagine for a moment that you walk into this big, huge room, and from ceiling to floor and corner to corner is nothing but giant whiteboard. You all know what a whiteboard is. It's those things we take, those markers, and we write on them. And when you look over to the left corner of this room, at the bottom corner is your birth name and your date. And you see writing all over the whiteboards, floor to ceiling, all around the room. And when you get over to the right-hand side of you, on this side, inside the door, there's a button. And you have been instructed that you can touch that button, and everything in your life thus far that is an attachment, that is something that is causing you to stumble or falter, will be removed from the board. And you'll be left with a clean slate. Now, you won't lose your memories. You won't forget who you are. You won't forget what day it is. Those things won't go away. Just those things that we suddenly you're moving along and something shows up and you don't know why, and you realize later it's a belief system from a long time ago and you should have let it go. Those types of things are going to be wiped clean from your life. Would you have the courage to push that button? I wonder. Because I think for many of us, we are so attached to the past. We are so attached to what has happened that we want to keep recreating it. If you ever had a situation where you had a bad boss, I'd be willing to bet that if you left that company to get away from that boss, you went to another company and the bad boss showed up. Not the same face, not the same name, but the same personality. Because we recreate our lives over and over again. And today, we are looking at the opportunity to create a new slate. And we talked about this last summer, might have even been in the spring, where we were talking about a bright new day. Every day gives us a newness to start with, every day. And some of us get up in the morning and we start reaching out for all that stuff behind us, all the stuff that happened yesterday. Jeffrey McDaniel says it this way: I realize there is something incredibly honest about trees in winter. How they're experts at letting things go. What a beautiful picture that is. The trees just release it all. And then when the spring comes, they start anew. They're experts at letting things go. Just a short time ago, the world was excited because we were coming to the close of 2020. Everybody was jazzed. We were like, oh my gosh, we're going to be so done with this. We're going to be done with this coronavirus, and we're going to be done with this racial unrest and this hatred and this animosity that's going on. And we're going to be done with all of this, the politics and some of the outrageous conversations that were going on. We're going to let it all go, and we're going to move into 2021. And then just a few short days into the new year, something happened. And again, we focused on social media and the news and everything we could see and find about what had taken place at the Capitol building. And what I heard in the voices close to me were, holy crap, we are bringing everything from 2020 with us. We're not starting new. We're just keep going down this insanity. It's going to get worse. And that declaration of fear and challenge, and that we can't do anything about it, that sense that we don't have the power, became rampant. And that's not the truth. The only thing that connected the events of your life today to something that happened yesterday is what's going on in your mind. This could be a brand new thing. It could be a new thing. It could be telling us there's something more. There's something more we need to pay attention to. There's something more we need to heal. There's something more we need to address. We weren't quite there yet. I have said for months that the coronavirus will be released once we have learned all we needed to learn and we let it go. Are we willing to let it go? Ernest Holmes says this: we should learn to let go of our mistakes and remember them no longer against ourselves. Nothing is gained by holding to past errors. Nothing is gained by holding to past errors. We need to let it go. The past does not dictate your future. If you believe that, seek out ways to let that go and find a new belief, because it's not the truth. Every day, every moment, we can create something new. Many of us pray for times to get out of the uck that we're in. Maybe it's a relationship, or it's a challenge, or it's a health situation, or whatever it is, and we pray for a do-over. We pray to get out of it. And then we become fearful because what's familiar to us is the pain, is the agony, is what was. And so we reach back and we start pulling it with us again. We start pulling it along. There is a beautiful allure to a blank page. If you're a writer, to sit down with a beautiful, clean slate, a clean piece of paper to write on, it's exciting, it's enticing. If you're an artist and you use a brush or color of some type, just to look at that blank slate and move forward is beautiful and amazing. So let's take this in for a second. There are moments in time when we intentionally seek to start over. Sometimes, like we have seen over the past year, we are hit with change. It comes to us as a surprise, and we didn't ask for it, but it's happening and it's showing up, and we don't know what's going on. And so we are caught up in this place of hope for something new, and we're caught up in this place of fear because we don't know what to do and we don't know how to do it. Each one of us is here. Each one of us is here to discover our own personal power. That power has been deeply seated within us, and we have the ability to create new. And we have the ability and the power and the presence to let go of the old, of what wasn't working. So we can do this. There are many steps. There's so many opportunities. Stop dwelling on that. Stop focusing all your attention on what was, especially the thing that you want to get rid of, the thing you want to move away from. Learn how to let it go. This is evidence of holding on. This is evidence of letting go. Practice that simple movement of your hands every day. A simple step that reminds the being, the very soul, the very spirit, to let go. Ralph Waldo Emerson said this: "Finish each day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day." Tomorrow is our new slate. When you call it a day today and you go to your bed and you let go of the day, let it go, knowing that when you wake up, when you turn your attention to the next day, to the next moment, it's a brand new, clean slate. Pay attention. Things are speaking to you. You're being guided. Take deep breaths. Let us commit this week to living from a space of clarity, clear mind, awareness, knowing that we can let go of the things that don't serve us. Indulge in the things that make you happy. There's so much to enjoy. Even in times of sadness and sorrow, there is so much to enjoy. Allow yourself to feed your soul. It's time for us to look at a clean slate. Please pray with me. What we know right here and right now is we know that there is one power. There is one good, there is one truth. It is the creator of all life. We believe this, we know this, we see evidence of it everywhere. I call it God, Spirit, universal wisdom. It permeates all life, it moves through all things, it lives within each and every one of us. It is everywhere all the time. How blessed we are to know this, how blessed we are to have this truth and this knowing in our lives. So what we turn our attention to this week is we turn our attention to opportunities to express and experience non-violent behaviors in our minds, in our hearts, in our bodies, and how we interact with others, and how we speak in our very thoughts about the things that are happening around us. Let us choose non-violence. And in this space, in this place, let us look at the idea, the possibility to create a new, clean slate. A slate that has been wiped clean of every attachment we ever had, and that we can create new just by choice, every moment of every day. As we do these things, may we dance this week in moments of happiness. May we pay attention to the love that fills our hearts and share that with those around us. May we know that goodness, greatness, peace is ours to own and ours to embrace. How perfect is this? How perfect and good. So we just let this go. We turn it over to the law of mind, where Spirit is already saying, yes, yes. We let it go, we let it be, and so it is.
Leggy lilac leans o'er the split rail.